Is it, I just did that one, the presenter.
Okay. Okay.
Can you hear me? Or A.
I can hold my breath on him. I know today's his birthday. Yeah. But it's one pass a year, right?
That's an excuse to have some sort of.
Yeah.
Regardless, I mean, I can. Brandon, I'm saying, kind of the opposite about this. I'd rather just. I can, for information to. My public record for president. Really, it's more of a background.
Sure, I sign some marks.
Well, I'm gonna be. You know, I'll be there.
If you get an invitation,
We're just-
if you get an invitation, stay.
You like it too?
Yeah.
I didn't know. Is that at the Randall offer?
No, he signed either one of those. It's so it's people that have. We found that brother or read on offerings. Georgette Jones, which is George Jones' daughter, but. They don't. No. Like that, brother. Sometimes dog show up. And you won't know. So they're like, yeah, but they're pretty good so now and. But.
It's pretty good showing.
This for. You know, a lot of people don't know that's. That's him. If that thing that look like that, you're
Hey dear,
Hello.
how are you? I'm sorry.
Dog's having a secret right now.
Everything
Oh.
here.
How you, brother?
Right here.
What's wrong, sir? How you, brother?
Yeah. All game.
No.
I started going on the telegram.
No, sorry. Let me never see my dog's having a seizure right now. So. I don't know what's going on.
They're in shape anyway.
Well,
Yeah, okay.
You know, get a chance to have a.
There you go.
Oh. Sorry, everybody. It's okay. I was just gonna say, you know that you're gonna be shared. Yes, sir. Yeah, good. I got that paperwork. Kathy's got you covered. Yes. All right, thank you. It is currently 5:16 and we'll call the May 6, 2024 P and Z work session meeting is called to order. At this time, we'll ask for public comments. Does anybody wish to make a comment? Please limit comments to 3 minutes. Please state your name and city of residence for the record.
Seeing no raised hands online, but Councilmember Zoe Grant has joined us.
Thank you. And seeing none in person, we'll go ahead and close the public comments and we'll turn the meeting over to Planning Director, Mr. Brian Chandler.
All right, thank you, Mr. Acting Chairman.
and members of the commission. So we have one item on consent, one plat, 24-15. And so just wanted to point that out that, certainly if, welcome to keep it on, or you're welcome to pull it. We are prepared to present, but this one is on consent because phase one of the ridge at Knob Creek, this one matches the preliminary plat that you all approved, not too long ago. I can't remember exactly when, but in line with the policy that we discussed with you all, that's why this one is on. And in the future, we're gonna add a little bit of an explanation just in parentheses when it's on consent. As a reminder to all of us, including myself, when I said, "Hey, Mark, remind me, why is this on consent?" Oh, because it matches the preliminary plat. So we'll include just a reference as a reminder to all of us why it's on consent. Any questions on that one or any discussion?
I think the only one I would have was they are doing a turn lane. I know that's obviously we're not at 4 lanes over there just yet.
Right.
There will be a turn lane into those two entrances.
That's correct. So TxDOT required, in fact, two different access points with the development at the loop. And I think turn lanes for both.
Okay.
But yes, good question. All right, but certainly y'all don't have to decide now if, when it comes up, you're prior to approving consent items, you're welcome to pull it. All right. Regular agenda, we have 2 zoning cases. We've got a conditional use permit at South 31st Street. This is 5703, 09, 19, and 5931. This is known as the Triangle Development, backs up to Georgetown Railroad Future Trail, so funded section of the Georgetown Railroad Trail. And so this is a mixed-use development. They want to have the flexibility to have restaurants. And so this is a alcohol sales on-premise consumption at a restaurant threshold. So no more than 50% of revenue generated by alcohol sales. So that's the purpose. And I should point out that there's work along the Georgetown Railroad Trail that's going to happen before the trail work related to a water line city project. And so trees were removed in that area out of necessity, but just so that you all know, trees are going to be replanted by the developer and also by the city. And so regardless of what goes into that mixed-use development, there will be additional buffering and screening. That's a 100-foot easement with the railroad within it. But just in case you're wondering what happened to those trees and are they going to come back? Well, maybe they're not coming back, but new ones will be there. So any questions about that?
I guess this is just for all of our knowledge, because I don't think I've even with having the brew I didn't understand how does that 50%, how does the city go about validating that on not prior to?
Right. We don't. TABC would. So that matches that should match their the alcohol license.
So the food and beverage.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's part
If
of
they
it.
didn't get food
Brian?
and beverage.
So yeah,
There's also, and Kyle, maybe you can give me the direct language. There's also language that says that the burden of proof is on them to have the records that show that. And there's language in the conditional use permit, regardless of alcohol or any other use, that it could be revoked.
Right.
So if it does appear to be becoming a bar and not a restaurant, or there's reason that it's becoming a nuisance, then the code does allow city staff to request to audit their records. Show us the receipts, as the saying goes.
Right. Okay, I heard that there was potential development was gonna do potentially do the same thing for some of theirs.
Yeah, they approved it on Saturday.
What's that?
Went to vote on Saturday and that was approved.
Right, yeah. So, okay. I was just curious.
Good question.
Thank you.
All right, and then, oh, yep, yes, sir. Okay.
I've never done it before.
Sure.
So I don't know about this particular item.
Okay, yes, sir. So this is just the workshop part, just to talk about some of the basics of anything that maybe they have questions about ahead of time. But this will be on the regular agenda, which starts at 5:30. And so there will be a public hearing and an opportunity to speak or ask questions then, if that works, because you're welcome. All right, and then the other item, 5120 State Highway 317, so this is just a straight rezoning to neighborhood service to be consistent with some other requests along that corridor. And Christina Strickland is the case manager of this, so she'll give a presentation. Fairly straightforward, but any questions about that?
I'm gonna ask about curb cuts. Okay.
Okay,
She already did.
all right. She's on it. All right, so with that, also just wanted to let you know at the next meeting, Mark is going to give an update on recent annexations and annexations that are in the works. Because there really have been, well, since April, one that went to council, and there are 4 others that are in the works. So a lot of voluntary annexations. City's growing, developers are interested in expanding the city limits and mainly gaining access to our public sewer. So Mark will give us that update. And also just to let you know that, and we have a formalized pre-development process, and we block out Tuesday afternoons and make that available on all the reviewing departments' calendars. But we're booked up through May essentially. I mean, there are a few slots, but it's busy. So I think that's a reflection of the amount of interest in developing in Temple, and business is good. All right, and let's see if there's anything else to update you on. Not really, so happy to answer any other questions about the director's report or the agenda.
Questions from anybody else? No? All right. Thank you, Mr.
All
Chandler.
right, thank you.
All right, at this time, I'll request volunteers for the invocation.
I'll do it.
And a volunteer for the pledge.
I'll do it.
All right, Kathy Gover, sir, we will not hear from Miss Kathy Gover in regards to affidavits.
Good thing, the secret is correct.
Thank you. Is there any additional business? If not, we'll go ahead and close the work session at 5:25 PM. Thank you.
By the way, while we're waiting, as acting chair, I've got a Mylar for you to sign after the meeting, sir.
You guys voted. All right. All right, everyone. I will now call the May 6, 2024 Planning and Zoning Commission regular meeting to order at 5:30. Ms. Gover, can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, good evening and welcome to the May 6, 2024 Planning and Zoning Open Session Meeting. Commissioners, please stay present if in attendance this evening. Commissioner Morales. Present. Commissioner Walker.
Present.
Commissioner Juravsik.
Present.
Commissioner Krause.
Present.
Commissioner Smith.
Present.
Commissioner Jeans.
Present.
Commissioner Carney. For the record, Commissioner Carney is not present. Vice Chair McBride.
Present.
Chair Marshall. For the record, Chair Marshall is not present. For the record, our quorum is present with 7 commissioners in attendance. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
You're welcome.
All right, this time Commissioner Krause will lead us in the invocation and Commissioner Walker will lead us in the pledge. Please stand.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for all of your blessings that you bestow on each and every one of us and on this community. We ask your guidance and your wisdom in all decisions to be made. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You. All right, we'll now confirm the meeting agenda items. Are there any questions or concerns? Kyle, do we still have to do a vote? at all? Okay. So we can just do it by consent?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. There's no objection. We will approve the meeting agenda items by unanimous consent. Are there any general public comments at this time? If so, please limit them to 3 minutes. Seeing none?
Seeing none online.
All right, thank you. Seeing none, we'll move on to consent items. On the consent agenda is the approval of items 4 and 5. If there are no objections, I will entertain a motion.
And since we're still new to this,
Thank you, yeah.
thing, the motion will be move to approve the consent items 4 and 5. And then you need a second.
Sorry, once more.
The motion will be that somebody moves to approve items 4 and 5,
Okay,
and then a second is needed.
okay.
I'll make a motion to approve items 4 and 5.
Second. Thank you. We got a motion by Commissioner Smith, right? And a second by Commissioner Mertz. Kathy, can we get a vote?
Yes. Commissioner Morales.
Aye.
Commissioner Walker.
Aye.
Commissioner Juravsik.
Aye.
Commissioner Krause.
Aye.
Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Jeans.
Aye.
Vice Chair McBride.
Aye.
The vote is unanimous and the motion carries.
All right, sorry about that. All right, next, item number 6, FY-24-21-DC. Hold a public hearing to consider and take action on a conditional use permit to allow sales of alcoholic beverages for on-premise consumption where alcohol sales shall not exceed 50% of the total gross revenue of the establishment at 5703, 5709, 5919, and 5931 South 31st Street, Temple, Texas. This case will be presented by Transportation Planner, Mr. Jason Deckman.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. As you see on the slide here is the dates for tonight's hearing, as well as the City Council first and second reading on May 16th and June 6th. So this is for 4 lots in the Triangle Tract subdivision. So that is located on South 31st Street. On the map to the left, you see the Georgetown Railroad right away is to the south of the project. These are the 4 lots highlighted. You know, the S curve up here to 31st Street takes you further to the north, and then 93 is direction south. And the aerial photo, again, these are the 4 lots for which the permit would apply. And you do see some of the lot lines for the rest of the Triangle Tract, and it is a mixed use. So there's some larger commercial retail office lots and all these smaller residential townhome lots. And you can see the railroad right away where, you know, there are existing trees where some trees had been cleared, as Mr. Chandler pointed out during the workshop. Will be replanted, emphasizing that. So we'll start out with some photos just to get you oriented to the neighborhood. These are the townhouses under construction. The lower left is facing towards the corner of the property where the 2 lots at 5919 and 5931 are. And then on the other photo is facing northeast towards 5703 and 5709. You see there's already a fence in place here with trees, and you do see through some of the gaps where you can see some of the homes in the adjacent Deerfield subdivision. Looking south, 31st Street is a large 4-lane arterial road. This is one of the entrances. Bellaterra neighborhood is across the road here, as well as you see it in this photo, and then turn and look a little bit more northwest all along 31st Street, that there's also some adjacent office commercial development across the road. So we've got a site plan for the Triangle Tract, and this was part of an economic development agreement that will constitute the site plan for this CUP. So I've highlighted the lots in red where the permit would apply. Call your attention to a couple things. First of all, it's for restaurants. The code says on-premise sales of alcohol not to exceed 50% of the gross total revenue, which is a long-winded way of saying these are restaurants. If it was a bar, it would be 75% or more, possibly 100%. When you get to this threshold, typically that means food and beverages are served. There's a state TABC food and beverage certificate. And that's what the developer has stated, that these would be future restaurants. You know, they don't have specific tenants in mind yet, but having the CUP in place would give them the ability to market the property, that it's ready for a restaurant to move in. So we do like to be development ready and friendly in the city. The site is zoned neighborhood services, which would already support the restaurant use, but it does require the conditional use permit for the alcohol sale. So that really is why we're here. And the code does have certain distances for alcohol sales. These lots are not located within 300 feet of a church, school, or hospital per chapter 4. They will be subject to the standards compliance with UDC 5.3.15. That's where some of the language we talked about in the workshop about being able to show that you have not exceeded that 50% revenue threshold or causing a nuisance would be part of those standards. Chapter 24 for noise would also apply. We will mention the noise later on. You'll see that during the review of the CUP compliance standards and the proposed conditions, since it is a conditional use permit. But let's talk about a little bit of the surrounding for this Triangle Tract development. So the first thing to point out is that there's a new annex to the city library, and hopefully that's the right term that they want me to use. I said new library, and somebody thinks that we're moving the library. No, this would be an annex to the library. It'd be a satellite location. And you see this is on this kind of little plaza facing 31st Street with these retail commercial lots. And then you see this walking area and this walking path that then comes down in. There's a couple opportunities to connect to the Georgetown River Trail. So that access to come down the trail, stop and have a bite to eat, have a cold frosty beverage, maybe stop and read the latest copy of the Temple Telegram at the library, check out a book, and then jump on the trail, walk on home. We see that this combination of mixed uses is really beneficial to the area. And then last, you know, the site plan shows landscaping throughout the site. Barring what's on the ground now, which isn't much because it's a construction site, you do see that there's trails there's trees that we planted along the trail by the city, and trees and landscaping and shrubs that will be added during the full build out of this area. So this does require us to send out notification. We sent out 21 notices to owners of 54 properties within 200 feet, which seems like a weird combination of numbers. And that's because you've got both the neighbors that were notified, but also the lots within the Triangle Tract that are owned by the applicant. So the applicant's response, you know, they represent the owners of these lots, represent 35 of the total properties. They were in agreement. And then one notice in disagreement, which is shown here, and that was received Friday afternoon. We provided copies of that response in your packet. It was handed, or not in the packet. The packet was already published, but those are provided to you physical copies. And that's located here across the Georgetown Railroad Trail. The newspaper printed notice of the public hearing on April 25th, 2024, in accordance with state law and local ordinance. So here's your boilerplate language for any conditional use permit, that the council may deny or revoke a CUP if it becomes incompatible with the surrounding properties, if it's detrimental or offensive, if it becomes a nuisance or it's hazardous to health. The Planning and Zoning Commission may recommend, and the City Council may impose additional conditions of approval, which we've seen, and you will see at the end of this presentation. And the permittee must demonstrate that granting the permit would not be detrimental to the public welfare. And the site development plan accompanies the ordinance. So that's the plan that you see here. So We do have several criteria that we evaluate. Is it compatible with the neighboring property? We think it is. Will it impede normal development? It will not. There are adequate utilities, access, and drainage. The site is, as you saw in the photos, currently being developed, and they've installed sewer and water and detention all through there. The safe, convenient movement of traffic. They've got parking, they've got multiple access points onto and off of 31st Street, as well as foot traffic with the connection to the railroad trail and the internal sidewalks. That the permittee use would not generate noxious odors, fumes, dust, excessive noise, or vibration. Noise is highlighted because we do have a condition regarding that. Directional lighting, that will come in and be reviewed during the permit for, no glare spreading off to the neighboring residences. And is there sufficient landscaping and screening? And you saw that on the site plan. So the answer to all those evaluation criteria is yes. So staff recommends approval of the conditional use permit to allow sales of alcoholic beverages for on-premise consumption, where alcohol sales shall not exceed 50% of the total gross revenue of the establishment at 5703, 5709, 5919, and 5931 South 31st Street, subject to these conditions. That we do not exceed 50% of the total revenue, compliance with Chapter 4 and UDC Section 5.3.15. Number 4 covers the noise, requiring any outdoor entertainment or any other loud noises, whether that's music or stand-up comedy, or even just the people outside having drinks and talking loud, laughing, that stops by 10 p.m. to prevent it becoming a nuisance to the neighbors. The site plan exhibit A, which we showed you, subject to review prior to the building permit. So if they come in with the building permits and suddenly these building footprints look drastically different than what's shown on the site plan, that's something that's going to have to be determined. Is it a minor change that the director of planning can approve, or is it major enough that it comes back to this commission and the city council for review? So that concludes my presentation. I'll stand by if you have any questions.
Thank you, Jason. Commissioners, any questions? Okay. Not seeing any questions. This case requires a public hearing. We will now open the public hearing. If you wish to speak and are attending in person, please come to the podium. If you are viewing the meeting online, please virtually raise your hand, provide your full name and city of residence for the record. I do see we have one signed up for public comments, Mr. Glenn Morrison. Please state your name for the record and your city of residence.
My name is Glenn Morrison. I live at 5627 South 31st Street. I own 2.6 acres just north of the development there. And when I met with the developer before anything was ever built there, I was told that there would be condominiums built in the back and offices everywhere else, similar to what was across the street. Then later on, as the apartments are coming up in the back, they said, well, those are my idea of a condominium is something the person owns. But then I talked with the construction manager. He said, well, they're just apartments. So, I don't know whether I was deceived or don't understand, what's going on. But then offices, okay, they said everything else is going to be offices. Well, those aren't offices. And I'm a little bit puzzled. This is my first time at a meeting like this, so please forgive me if I'm ignorant, but I disapprove of what they plan on doing there. I like the idea of offices, but the restaurant and, love the idea of the library, but that's the way I feel. So thank you for indulging me.
Yes, sir.
Any questions for me?
No, sir. I would just say is understanding, trying to understand how this goes and what happens as far as the initial rezoning and when the initial plans come in for this stuff is, sometimes when developments are hoping to be, condos or something where it's owner, people are owning it. Sometimes the market doesn't necessarily support being able to do that, and that's why rental properties come in. And then it's the same thing to do with the commercial. As long as the zoning that came through permitted condos or apartments, then that's just that's a choice the developer gets to make, and sure Mr. Chandler can probably more eloquently explain that.
Yeah, I mean, I figure my house there's valued at almost $1 million, and I just don't like the way things are looking up. So,
Understood, sir.
thank you.
Thank you.
Like to address the type of residential that is allowed here, and that is what is being constructed. Apartments are not allowed in neighborhood service. So what they're actually providing are townhouses. So it's a single family attached product. So they're each on their separate lots. And so Jason, if you can show an aerial that shows the lot lines, so you can see those are all on separate lots. Now, what we can't regulate is whether the developer continues to own all of them or actually sell them, the individual units. And so the developer may have some input on that. Their developer and his representative are here, but in terms of they're on separate lots, they're called single family attached as townhouses. So they can be sold as individual units, like a condominium complex, but the condos would not be allowed because that's not, typically those are multi-story and they're not single family attached. They're stacked above each other. These are individual units on separate lots. I hope that makes some sense. And Scott Keela, who represents the developer.
Scott Keela, 20 Richland Drive, Temple, Texas. I think, yeah, Jason and Brian covered a lot of the points I wanted to talk about today. One thing I think is important is there is a CUP across the street. So it's already been something that the commission has seen as good use on 31st Street. The townhome uses are going to be for rent for now. Right now, we haven't seen a lot of townhome product for sale in our market. We're not really sure we're there yet. I think someday there's the possibility that those could be sold as individual units, and that's something that we would look at. And really here, we're just looking for the flexibility. I do think we're going to see a lot of office still along that north side. In the blue of the property, but we would like to have the ability, if possible, to sell alcohol, if that was something that came along. And really, we can already do restaurant with our current zoning. It would just be BYOB, and we think it would be better to have the restrictions on it that the city can better enforce. Put in the CUP place.
Well, at least you do the CUP for specific building locations and not sometimes we get the CUP for the entire zoned location. And so that whole thing could have alcohol establishments on it. So the nice thing about seeing this is they're being deliberate on where they're putting it. So it stays as close to 31st as possible, given the parking requirements they're gonna have, so.
Yeah, this site, I believe it was neighborhood service when we bought it. So we didn't
Have to rezone.
Didn't have to
Okay.
rezone. We platted and then, waited until after platting
Okay.
to figure out exactly where we thought those other uses would be needed.
All right.
Anything?
Thank you.
Just one more clarification. When we're talking restaurants, these would have to be sit-down restaurants. They're not drive-through. A drive-through is not allowed in neighborhood service.
Thank you, Brian. Any online?
Yes, sir.
All right, thanks, Jason. All right, we'll now close the public hearing. If there are no more questions or comments, I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion, we approve FY-24-21-ZC as recommended by staff.
Second.
A motion to be made by Commissioner Walker and a second by Commissioner Jeans to recommend approval on item 6, FY 24 21 ZC to City Council per staff recommendation. Kathy, can we get a vote?
Yes. Commissioner Morales? Commissioner Walker?
Aye.
Commissioner Jurassic?
Aye.
Commissioner Krause? Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Jeans?
Aye.
Vice Chair McBride?
Aye.
The vote is unanimous and the motion carries.
Thank you. Next, item number 7, FY 24 22 ZC, hold a public hearing to discuss and recommend action on a rezoning request from agricultural to neighborhood service on 3.753 plus or minus acres located in the J.J. Simmons Survey, abstract number 737, in the city of Temple, Texas. Address is 5120 State Highway 317. This case will be presented by Senior Neighborhood Planner Christina Strickland.
Good evening, Commissioners. So you will be hearing this case this evening, and it'll go to City Council on its first reading on May 16th, and then for a second reading on June 6th. On the left-hand side of your screen is a vicinity map showing the property's location along 317, just north of Poison Oak Road intersection. And on the right-hand side is an aerial view. As you can see, this property and the surrounding areas are very undeveloped. This site is undeveloped currently, so it's coming before you for rezoning so that they can develop it. These are some site photos. The one on the left-hand side of the screen is the rezoning site. It is close to 4 acres, so it's quite large. On the right-hand side is the current driveway. I'm showing this picture because they are looking to move the driveway for a more adequate location for the site that they have envisioned. And then on the bottom is a panorama, little odd panorama, but right here, kind of where this disturbed dirt area is close to the proposed, or the new location for their proposed driveway. These are just some additional site photos. There's an undeveloped adjacent property to the west that sits behind this property. And then the surrounding properties to the north and the east are both residential properties. And the adjacent property to the south is also residential. And then on right here is their proposed new driveway location. And they do have a permit in with TxDOT to move that driveway. So a little bit of background, as you can see on the screen, the area is predominantly zoned agricultural. Just to the south of the property is zoned neighborhood services. And then just a little bit further south along close to Poison Oak Road, this came before your commission not too long ago for rezoning to neighborhood services, which was also approved. Neighborhood services is requested to allow for flexibility for office, limited retail, and personal services. With this site development, there will be required screening to buffer and screen against the residential, and that's just our requirement in our UDC to have the screening and buffering to keep residential and non-residential separate. So on the use table, the primary differences for agricultural and neighborhood services, I wanted to draw your attention to the retail and service uses. There are some retail options that are available in neighborhood services. They're light non-residential uses. So it could include a bank, a beauty, a barbershop, some food and beverage sales without fuel, veterinary office, some various retail shops and services. A CUP for alcohol beverage sales for off-premise would be required, and then a gym. There are no commercial uses that are permitted in neighborhood services, but there are office uses. And then some restaurant uses are permitted in neighborhood services as well, but no drive-through. So they do have some options. At this time, this is just a straight rezoning, and we do not have a proposed use for this parcel at this time. And then just wanted to include some trip generation estimates for the highest uses that could be possible. So for a daycare center, you could get a weekday average of 276 trips per day. A small office building that's about 9,000 square feet could have about 130 trips per day. And then if there were a liquor store, it would create about 429 trips per day. I also wanted to include this crash analysis along State Highway 317. There were 23 crashes in the immediate vicinity, which is, and Jason can better speak on this, but that was predominantly at the intersection of Poison Oak Road and State Highway 317. And as you can see, this parcel is located north of that hotspot. 12 crashes were at the hotspot and 1 fatal crash at the intersection, which was a failure to yield at a stop sign. The new traffic signal at Poison Oak Road and 317 was lit up or started to be used in March of this year. Additional
So
add-on.
just some additional history is that, yes, that is a hotspot. Most intersections are. If you look at the wider map, you know, the intersections going on into Belton and then going north up to Tarver and Hogan and Adams are also hotspots. And where we saw the accidents spike in this area was 2017, 18, and 19. When that was a work zone, that was when TxDOT was widening 317 to a median separate. And I see heads nodding. And then we widened Poison Oak, and part of that project added the signal. So before the construction, year over year, 5 accidents, 3 accidents, 7 accidents. During the construction, jumped up to double digits, 15, 18 a year. And then since that construction is completed, it did drop back down to single digits, 7 a year, 9 a year. Since that signal was activated, haven't had any accidents. I'm not saying that the signal prevented all accidents. I'm saying that's a very short period of time to evaluate a signal. However, that's still pretty good news. That signal is going to help Poison Oak in 317 function a lot smoother, because even though the accident rate or the accident numbers have stayed in the same general trend, the traffic has almost doubled. So if you get the same number of crashes and the traffic's doubled, something's working right. It's probably that median. The signal's just going to augment that. So in terms of back to this case, don't see they're going to have right in, right out. Don't see that being a major traffic hazard, because that signal there is going to periodically slow down. People are going to have to slow down going past this location. Do you have any questions for me?
Okay, thank you, Jason. So just moving on a little bit more, some additional background. This area for the future land use plan is corridor mixed use, so neighborhood services does coincide with the corridor mixed use. It is consistent with the comprehensive plan. It is also consistent with the thoroughfare plan. 317 is a TxDOT highway and a major arterial. There's no conflict with this. As Jason said, this is a right in, right out only, and we'll maintain that to the best of our knowledge. As far as the trails master plan and sidewalk ordinance, existing thoroughfare connectors along the east side of, there are existing thoroughfare connectors along the east side of State Highway 317, and 6 feet sidewalks are required along both sides of major arterials. And there are no conflicts with the mobility master plan. And it is not located within a neighborhood plan. For utilities, there is a 18-inch water line, so the property will have city water available. There are no city sewer services that are available. The nearest sewer line is quite far away, and the property will have on-site septic that is allowed within the regulations of the Bell County Health Department. And it's within the Belton ISD school district. For a notification of the rezoning, this was sent out to 4 surrounding property owners, and we have not received any notices to date for approval or disapproval. And the newspaper notice was printed on April 25th. And staff did review the zoning case April 25th as well. So staff's recommendation is for approval of the zoning change from agricultural to neighborhood services. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you, Christina.
Sure.
Questions?
I'm just curious. You didn't talk about.
We have an engineer in the house.
I'm just curious, because that's where the growth is going, that's all that side of 317 is going to get developed eventually, so I'm just curious. If that's on the map or agenda or in the future when it's coming.
Okay. Just so it's on record.
We
I was
do
just
not,
curious, I'm just.
No, so it's good to know.
Yeah, we do have a master plan for our water lines and our wastewater lines, it's like we do our major thoroughfare plans. And so there are lines proposed. I can't speak specifically for this area in here, but can we pull up our?
I don't have it. I'm so sorry.
That's okay, I was just curious.
We can get back with you on that. Would you
Okay,
like
that's
us-
great.
All right, we'll do that.
I appreciate it.
Sure, no problem.
Thank you, Debbie.
Make that a workshop item for next meeting.
Yes.
We can pull up the CIP maps.
Sewer update. Thank you.
Over here.
My bad.
Thank you. So I'm concerned about they're saying they're not requesting a curb cut currently.
Right, there are no median cuts that have been requested at this time, and it is a TxDOT road, so that would be up to TxDOT to approve or disapprove that. The only request that they have is to move their driveway. It's just a driveway permit to move it to a more centralized location for their property.
If they were to ask for that, because this will have to come back as a plat or no?
There is a concurrent plat that will come before you.
Okay.
It's still under review at the moment, but there will be a plat that will come before you for this property.
So transportation guru, what do you think the likelihood that TxDOT would, if they requested it, if they would grant it?
I'm gonna say unlikely.
Okay,
It's too close to where that turn lane flares out.
right.
If you're looking at the
Yeah.
map.
We do have an applicant here. You're
Oh.
you're welcome to come up and speak if you.
Yeah,
want to.
you could please. Thank you. Just state your name and city of residency, please.
Good afternoon, Becky Taylor, and I live in Belton, Texas.
Thank
So no, we do not have any plans to put in an application for curb cutting. Our intent is to just move the driveway to a more central location.
Mhm.
And I do feel like TxDOT is in agreement with that. I actually feel like they feel it's safer. Right now, it's located pretty close to the residence, slightly north. But no plans for that.
Okay, yeah, that would just be the biggest concern is cutting in more and more. When that's
Honestly-
a good deterrent for uneducated drivers.
Well, I think, you've got that traffic and you are so close to the turnaround and into the light anyways. I don't feel like they would approve it even if we did ask, but.
Okay, all right. Okay, that's the only question I had. Thank you so much. Anybody else? Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, this case requires a public hearing. We will now open the public hearing. If you wish to speak and are attending in person, please come to the podium. If you are viewing the meeting online, please virtually raise your hand. Provide your full name and city of residence. None online, seeing none in person. We will now close the public hearing. If there are no more questions or comments, I will entertain a motion.
A motion that we approve FY-24-22-ZC as submitted by staff.
Second.
Okay, motion has been made by Commissioner Krause and a second by Commissioner Jeans, because he was louder, sorry. To recommend approval of item 7 FY-24-22-ZC to City Council per staff recommendation. Kathy, can we get a vote?
Yes. Commissioner Morales?
Aye.
Commissioner Walker?
Aye.
Commissioner Geraldo?
Aye.
Commissioner Krause?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Jeans?
Aye.
Vice Chair McBride?
Aye.
The vote is unanimous and the motion carries.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Is there any further business? Nope, we'll close the meeting at 6:06 PM. Thank you.